Hi, this is Dave Farmer. We're going to have a webinar today looking at HIT products, which is somewhat of an unknown, sort of, in the irrigation industry, although they would probably disagree with that. But I think it's at least fair to say not as well known as the big players in the industry, and certainly worth looking at. I have on the line here with me George Cook, who's Vice President of Sales and Marketing, and I want to show you what the HIT product offers and have George explain when appropriate as to what the product line is, and I want to show you how to add these products in Land Effects and use them. This is their website, RainPro, and HIT, H-I-T, is the product name. And George, how are you?
I am good, thank you, Dave.
And can you tell me the difference between the names of RainPro and HIT?
Well, HIT Products has been around a long time, starting back in 1982, and we felt that it was appropriate to make our name more descriptive of what we do, and RainPro came up, and we've been transitioning to RainPro for about the last 18 months.
Okay, when I got to your
website here in the next year and a half.
Okay, I happened to Google HIT irrigation, and I got this website. But so should I call things RainPro rather than HIT, or?
Well, HIT is commonly known amongst those that have used the product over the years, so we can, for purposes of simplicity, we can call it HIT Products today.
That's how
But our next webinar in the next 5 years or something, we can then call it RainPro.
There you go. But as obvious, they make a range of products for irrigation, and I want to kind of real quickly go over them. I'm going to hit sprinklers here. There's a number of series options, and I wonder if George can tell me quickly what each particular series means.
Okay, the 4 different series of actual sprinklers are the HP series, which is an economical sprinkler that we make in the 2- and 4-inch, basically for the European market. We then go to the 700 series, which is much like the Toro type sprinkler with the molded wiper seal that can be taken in or out. It's not a co-molded wiper seal. Then we go to the 900 series sprinkler that has a co-molded wiper seal, but with the addition of a leak stopper gasket co-molded into the cap.
When you say co-molded, do you mean this white wiper seal right here is kind of built into the cap? Is that what co-molded means?
Co-molded means that you take one piece of plastic that's already been molded and then you mold over that. So it's an integral part of that one piece in product. So you can see it in the picture there, the 2 different colors. You've got the black plastic cap that you're familiar with, and then the actual wiper seal is molded onto that. And what that provides is a long-term integrity for the white rubber part, which is critical to keeping blow-by and the measurements consistent for a longer period of time than a non-co-molded seal.
Is there any secret to your wiper seal? I know in my experience the wiper seal is a real critical thing with pop-ups. If they're not good, the things stay popped up and that kind of stuff. You get water coming out of them, and there's all kinds of issues on poorly done ones. I know I did talk to a HIT rep many years ago who was went on about their wiper seal. Is there anything you can add about the description of your wiper seal and why it's different maybe than others?
Well, we kind of took a page out of the Rainbird wiper seal, which seemed to be the best wiper seal at the time, and then we added to it a leak stopper gasket. There was a challenge in sealing the body, between the body and the bonnet, and with this additional leak stopper gasket molded out of rubber, we were able to absolutely eliminate any kind of leakage between the body and the cap.
Huh.
So that's a unique characteristic of the seal.
Okay, and a 900T means telescopic, is that right?
That is our the 900T is the telescopic series.
And I can see a couple of them here. Let me look at those.
Yeah. The telescopic is a very interesting, and it's a patented product. That's why you'll see that only it is able to offer it. It's a 13 inches of pop-up and a 6-inch body. And we also, off to the right, you see the 907T, which is a 7-inch pop-up that fits in a 4-inch, standard 4-inch body.
Now I'm looking at this one right here in the middle. That looks like a 6-inch body, or is that a 4-inch body right there?
That's actually a 4-inch body.
Oh, okay. This one is a 6-inch body.
That is a 6-inch body.
Oh, that's interesting.
And the funniest thing happened when we got done making this. It's just unbelievable that 13-inch pop-up assembly will fit into both our 906 body, or it happens to fit into an 1806 body. And the same thing for the 7-inch.
The Rainbird 1806 you're talking about.
The Rainbird 1806, yes.
Uh-huh.
So if you happen to have an 1806 body, but you weren't getting an adequate amount of pop-up, you could actually slip the guts of the 913 pop-up, take out the 6-inch internal assembly, slip in the 913 assembly, and you converted in less than 90 seconds a 6-inch pop-up to a 13-inch pop-up. And
I know contractors tend to dislike the 12-inch pop-up bodies because they're so far down in the ground.
They've got to dig a deep hole to install a 12-inch pop-up, and this eliminates that. You only have to go as far as a 6-inch body for the 13 inches of pop-up and the 4-inch body for the 7 inches of pop-up. And in fact, we've had recently some people inquire about these for roof gardens where there's a lack of depth, but they want the pop-up height. And so for roof gardens, this has been an ideal situation.
Yeah, I could certainly see this little 4-inch coming into play in certain ways, you know, to get a real something up in the air anyway. That's pretty cool. And I would say to the people I know, I've held these bodies before, and you kind of have to. You could call a hit rep or something and have them come by and bring you a sample and feel the heft and weight on them. It's fairly impressive. So certainly worth pursuing on that. I want to look at the valves too. I've heard a lot of good valve comments. What do these series of valves mean?
Well, we've got here starting at the bottom, or we'll start at the top and work our way down. The 100 series is a PVC reverse flow type valve. Kind of what makes it handy is it comes in a big variety of configurations, from slip, female thread, male thread, barbed, all kinds of different configurations.
And those are a 1-inch, right?
Slope control.
Those are all 1 inch?
All in 3/4 and 1 inch, yes.
Oh, okay.
3/4 and 1 inch. Then we go to our 200 series, which is an old standby. It's been around for, this design has been around for many, many years.
Looks like the Hardy 100.
It looks a lot like the 205, 216, 217 series. In fact, the parts are totally interchangeable. The bonnets, the diaphragms, the solenoids, etc. We make it in a 3/4, 1, 1.5, and 2-inch configuration.
Oh.
Okay, and we have a question from a user. It says, can you buy the pop-up gut separately, or do you have to buy the whole assembly?
Oh, that's a great question. You can buy it as just an assembly, but what we suggest is you buy it as an entire unit. And the reason being is, when you take out the original guts of, let's say, an 1806, you pull out the 6-inch internal part of that sprinkler, where do you put it? Well, if you buy the entire, like 913T, you pull out the internal assembly, drop it into the 1806, take the 1806 internals, put it into the leftover body, and you now have an 1806 pop-up that's good to go on your next repair job or whatever.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense. 300 series here.
This is
This
a
is the
valve.
straight through.
This is a straight through flow path valve. This is a spin-off from our 500 series. We wanted to be able to provide a valve, a 1-inch valve that was competitively priced with some of the other valves in the market, but still offer the features of the straight through flow path. The difference in the 300 and 500 series, real quickly, is just that it has self-tapping screws, has a pressure rating to 150 psi, and plastic flow control stem.
I see this one is 1 inch to 2 inch, 1, 1.5, and 2 on this one.
This is our 500 series, and this has got the patented straight-through flow path of the spherical diaphragm, and it provides some really great characteristics. It's a straight-through flow path, which means the water can go pretty much straight through the valve unhindered, and your pressure loss is minimized by this. And comparing it to some other very popular valves in the marketplace, you can save up to 60% of your pressure loss. So if you're dealing in a job where you've got a concern about losing pressure, the 500 series valve is unparalleled in that regard.
Where's the specs on this? If I go to the home page and I want to see pressure loss chart or something, is there any way to do that for valves?
I think just click right on the valves there, and
okay,
the list will come up, and you can click right on the 500 series.
Okay.
And go to the next page.
Okay. I'll just scroll down. So, and that's, it's just taking us a little bit of time here. There it is. So sorry. Yeah, what I tend to do, I like going to different valves, and I like to see what they perform loss-wise when you sort of max them out, you know, or see what sort of gallonage you can get at around 5 psi loss. So let's see, I'm looking at the 2-inch valve at a 5 loss. I'm getting 150 GPM, you know, and just kind of comparing one valve to another, because if you can gain 2 or 3 psi by using a different valve, it may make a big deal in your design, because often pressure is critical in most situations, you know, and every little extra psi you can get is great.
Looking at 150 gallons per minute, you can compare 1.5-inch valves with a popular valve, I'll call it the PEB series valve, and you can save 13 psi.
Wow.
Where the PEB at the 1.5-inch valve at 150 gallons per minute has a 21 psi loss. The HIT straight-through flow path valve has an 8 psi loss. So the difference is 13 psi that you're going to gain just by using the HIT 500 series valve.
And this is a diagram showing that flow through. It just basically goes straight through here. That's pretty interesting.
A couple of the hidden characteristics real quick is it's a slow closing valve. That doesn't mean from the time that the solenoid is deactivated. It actually means the way in which it closes down the flow of water. With a one-piece hard diaphragm, it immediately goes down and slams, and that last 1/4 inch, 1/3 of an inch of travel will, depending upon the size of the valve, can create some significant water hammer testing your welds and your pipe and your connections. Whereas this valve comes down and just kisses off, much like a butterfly valve. The last little bit of travel eliminates just the smallest amount of flow. So it's slow closing. Your pressure loss is minimal. And the other unique characteristic is that it'll operate at any flow. You can put 1 gallon per hour with a 1-inch valve, and you get positive opening and closing.
And then the 800 series is looks like a PVB built into it, 3/4 of 1 inch.
Right. That's an anti-siphon valve, popular here in California. And the 8400 series is the classic jar top type valve. It's been around for many years. We offer it in a 3/4 and 1 inch.
Okay. I wanted to, let's see, let me get back to the home page here. controllers are really interesting in what you have to offer. I'm going to let you go into it, but they're two-wire controllers, and we recently had a fellow by the name of Bill Curtis do a webinar on general irrigation design, and his research indicated to him anything under 32 stations seems to be more efficient to go to conventional wiring when you add up all the wiring costs, and I don't think he was really looking at this controller. He was more looking at the major brand controllers like Rainbird, but he felt anything under 32 stations, a conventional wire seemed to make more economic sense, and anything 32 stations and over, the two-wire system became more inexpensive as wire is becoming outrageously costly today. But both of these are two-wire, and I'll let George describe this top one and this bottom one here as to what they are.
Okay, at the top here we have the Logic Plus controller, which is available in both 42 and 128 stations. And in our research and looking at many different jobs and comparing them just for comparison's sake, every job is different. The bigger the job, the more you want two-wire. And when I say the bigger the job, excuse me, the more spread out the job is, geographically bigger. So at about 24 stations, just because of our price points and all, you can justify two-wire in the Logic 42 station model. And one of those reasons is that our receivers are very cost effective, and the cost of the controller itself is very cost effective.
And can you tell me a retail and a wholesale cost of the controller and the little decoder here? But if you know it offhand, if you don't.
I've got it here. The list prices on our controllers, the 42 station is $1,485 list. The 128 station controller is $2,175 list. And we have the receivers or decoders at $101.50 list. And again, these are all list prices, and carry a significant discount to get the price lower than that the actual contractor project would pay for it.
Right. And I think the decoder price, list price, is probably the cheapest decoder you can get. But that would be only my, without being really looking into it, just from my experience here.
One of the
decoders can be quite expensive, but this one seems very reasonable. But
one of the other significant differences between us and some of the other people or other manufacturers is that you can use standard 14 gauge off-the-shelf wire, which represents a significant savings compared to some of the specialty wires that some of the other manufacturers require.
And we have some more questions if you guys don't mind.
Okay.
One involves, do your valves, we're going back to that, work with drip irrigation?
Yes, the valves, in fact, with their low flow characteristics, that unique spherical diaphragm, what it does is when it is...
Which series would you recommend for drip, let's say?
The 300 series or 500 series. It's a common characteristic to these two different models.
Okay.
And that would be the 300 series there.
And it's a 1 inch, and the 500 series is several sizes. Okay.
Yes.
Is the 500 series the more of a Cadillac or something? And the other one is...
The difference is it's a lot heavier duty. It's rated to 200 PSI, carries a 5-year warranty. It has a stainless steel flow control stem. It has brass inserts that the stainless steel connectors connect to, fastening the bonnet and the lower body together.
Okay.
But what makes it so ideal for low flow is that the diaphragm only unseats as far as it needs to meet the downstream flow requirement. And so therefore, that's why you get the positive opening and closing in the low flow situation, which is a challenge for valves such as our 200 series valve with a standard hard one-piece diaphragm.
Gotcha. And I have to say, for the land effects users, we usually, for drip irrigation, we do valve kits, and this isn't in a kit, but you could add this valve as a regular valve and then edit its description to add on the filter and pressure regulator desire with the valve.
And back with the controllers, we had a question. I'm interested in the conversion of multi-wire valve controller to single wire.
Okay.
Okay, it's really 2-wire, but go ahead.
Right. That's what I was going to say, is the comparison of the traditional wire, dedicated wire controllers. Yes, we have what's called our Universal 2 Plus controller that uses all the same communication technology that's utilized in the Logic Plus controller, but it'll interface between your 2 wires out in the field and any controller of your choice. So if you have the features that you want in a controller, but you want the advantages of 2-wire out in the field, you can simply connect this Universal Plus out to the field with your 2-wire and up to 40 zones per unit from your controller of your choice, and you simply run a little 18-gauge wire down to the Universal 2 Plus for each station, and it converts it to 2-wire output, and you have the advantages of the controller of your choice with all the features and the advantage of 2-wire out in the field.
And of course, with 2-wire, you need this decoder, which is indicated right here, at each valve. So you just take the decoder and you say, this is going to be decoder number 1, and I'm going to hook it to valve number 1, and then you go back to your, at your controller, you say decoder 1 is going to turn on for a certain period of time, etc. But go ahead, Katie.
Program it just like you would a typical controller, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And where was the 2-wire technology developed, and do you know about how long ago?
We have been working on 2-wire probably as long or longer than anybody in the irrigation industry that I'm aware of. Back in 1993, we introduced our first 2-wire controller, and we utilized the dreadful latching solenoids, and we've learned ever since then and gotten to the point where we are today, where our 2-wire controllers are compatible with any standard 24-volt AC solenoid out in the market today.
So there's no special valve it needs, is what you're saying. Is that right?
No special solenoid, no special valve, no special wiring. It's got it can address the general market without any changes whatsoever.
And this one down here is the Rain Pro 2, the Pro 2. Is that right?
Well, that's actually our expandable modular controller that's pictured there. What isn't pictured in that picture is our Pro 2 controller.
Oh, I see. Let me
a new introduction that we've made about 2 years ago, and we felt that there was a need, and there was a desire to use 2-wire on smaller projects than, say, 24 or 32 zones. And this controller here was developed to address, go up to 16 stations. You can run up to 2 valves per station, and at a price point where it makes sense to use it in any kind of residential type application where you think you might want to use 2-wire and utilize the advantages of 2-wire. You can use 18 2-wire and go up to 2,000 feet. So it's a little workhorse, and it actually utilizes some of the same technology, communication technology, that we use in our larger controllers. So it's basically time tested.
What's the retail value on this thing?
The retail price on this, I've got to look to make sure I get it exactly right, is the controller itself, which goes up to 16 stations, is $275 list. and each of the modules is about $50 list.
Okay, so you plug modules into it. Is that right?
No, no, no.
Okay.
It's 16-station controller. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I said modules. I meant decoders.
Oh, the decoders are the modules you're talking about.
Are $59.
Oh, okay.
List.
So $275 and then $59 for each one of these decoders. Yeah.
Decoder.
And wait
So
until you price other decoders.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
We've figured
Okay,
out
what model is this one right here?
That's our RPXC controller, which is the expandable controller, the third one down on the list. And it goes
This?
in a standard configuration, it comes with 3 stations. And then as you add the modules, they're 4-station modules, so you can go to 3, 7, 11.
Is this standard wire or 2-wire for this one?
This is a traditional dedicated wire controller.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay, so it's an expandable one. I gotcha.
Modular type controller, yes.
Okay. I want to look, well, I'm going to show you drip stuff, but really you look, oh, okay, they've got drip stuff.
Can you hold on 1 second, Dave?
Sure, go ahead.
We had a good question. This was back with when we were showing the valves. We had a client who was interested in if you had any valves that included a kit, which also had the components of the filtration and the pressure regulation, and if not, you know, if that would become available, what's the pressure loss compare across the industry?
It would definitely be more efficient on a pressure loss basis. We do not sell it as an assembly as of yet, as we are just developing our filtration line, and it will be available with as a package with both pressure regulating and with the Y filter.
Okay.
But it's not available today yet. But the pressure loss will be significantly less.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I think a kit would be a good, you know, addition to your product line here. But I'm going to show you some low flow stuff when we add it. They're just fairly typical emitters, but a range of them. The thing that sort of excites me are these sand media filters. Again, we had Bill Curtis do last week a webinar on tips and tricks, sort of speak, for, you know, he's been in the business, whatever, 30-some years designing, and he finds he needs the sand filter almost on any job. Now, he is working in Florida, and maybe they got, you know, situations in their water there, but his comment was, that resonated with me, is really just about everywhere needs protection of your system. If you've got an expensive system and you get some grit in there, it will be a nightmare. It will eat up your system like crazy, this grit. Certainly drip stuff. So you're going to have a filter at your valve, but in addition to that valve filter pressure regulator kit, he feels anyway, you need the sand media filter. And that's great, except my big worry is when I look at what's options out there, they're gigantic systems that are outrageously expensive. But talking with George on this one's modular, and it's maintenance free. It back flushes itself. So you install it, and George will correct me if I'm wrong, but each one of these represents 25 GPM. So if you've got 50 GPM in your project, you only need 2 of these. If you've got 75 GPM or more than 50, you would need 3. If you got less than that, 1. So you kind of mix and match. And George will tell us what the cost is for these. And you know, I think of, oh, look at this thing and how complex looking it is. But I'm going to let George amplify what the maintenance aspects of this. If it's relatively maintenance free, it's going to flush this, it's going to filter the media and back flush itself and clear itself out. I like that idea. But go ahead and talk about these, George.
Okay. Well, the sand media filtration has been around for many years and basically utilized almost exclusively in the agricultural market, where they have miles and miles of small orifices out there that they want to make sure that they don't get clogged. What we did is we simplified it, brought it down to 1 square foot area of surface per filter, and put it together as a package so you can purchase just what you need in 15 to 25 gallon per minute increments. And each of the filters comes totally complete with all of the components, from all the fittings and flush valves, pressure relief valves, sight tubes, pressure gauges, etc., and backflush controller, to where you have a complete system that comes in 2 boxes per filter, one containing the components and the other one the tank, and it can be put together after your first one, probably in less than 10 minutes per tank. You can use a variety of sand as the media to clean the water, and it's really a slam dunk sort of filtration unit that can work up to a combination of maybe 16 tanks.
And what is the cost per tank?
The list prices, you start at 2 tank. You need a 2 tank minimum so that you can flush the dirty water and debris out of the sand with the clean water from the other tank. So we sell them as a minimum of a 2 tank. And a 2 tank system has a list price. Again, we're back to the list prices. Totally automated and everything is about $2,444 list.
Okay. And I think I can speak, at least for myself, I've always thought of these as more ag use, and Bill Curtis's comments have opened my eyes a bit, and I would seriously consider this on a project of substance where I really want to protect, or I want to protect the owner so he can protect his investment or her investment on the irrigation system, because Bill just feels these are on virtually every project, and he does pretty major projects, not just one small residence or something, but on virtually all of his stuff he will have a sand media filter of one type or another. It's just one of the components he specifies, and that struck me and resonated with me that maybe I should look into this and become more aware of this. But anyway, I wanted to point that out. So any other comments before I just show how to put your stuff in, George?
I think the only
I have another question.
Please don't hesitate. Okay. The question is?
Okay. Yeah, well, we actually have a few. About the sand media filters, someone said that typical sand media filters run about 10 grand each, and so it seems like you get a good deal, for yours especially. What was the cost again?
For a 2 tank system, which would be anywhere from 30 to 50 gallons per minute, depending upon what media you're using, is $2,444 list.
That's great. I mean, that's a fifth of the price, as usual. And then another question was, can any part or all of the sand media filter be subgrade? And if so, do you produce any kind of vault?
We don't provide a vault. It certainly could be installed. There's no requirement that it be above grade or below grade. It would just actually there's no requirement that it be above grade.
Okay. And then we had one other question about the controllers. For instance, if I have a 16 station 2-wire controller and then need to upgrade to the 48 station model, is there any rebate for the value of the smaller unit?
We haven't done anything like that because that would be a difficult conversion to go from 16, because you would want to have larger wire going above the 16 stations. So the conversion would be a difficult one, and you'd be pretty much starting back at scratch.
What gauge wire are you dealing with on this controller here?
The Logic Plus that goes up to 128 stations and 12,000 feet distance from the controller, and you can do that on all 4 outputs. So you could go 12,000 feet to the east, 12,000 feet to the west, and then the same with the north and the south. That's a 14 gauge wire.
Okay.
That will carry the signal and the power out to
Gotcha.
12,000 feet.
That's 14, and then this other one, I can't remember which one it was.
It's using 18-2 wire. 18-2 wire on the Pro 2, which is the 16 station.
Not this one. Yeah.
And with the 18-2 wire, you can go up to 2,000 feet.
An 18 gauge wire is real thin.
Yeah. Yes, it's very thin.
Uh-huh.
And then lastly, someone asked where the products are manufactured.
All the products that we've talked about today are manufactured here in Lindsay, California, and developed and manufactured here, which is pretty unique. It's good to support the good old USA when you can.
Cool.
Do you have factory, I don't know, whatchamacallem, visitors and stuff like that? Or
We
can people
do on
come
a
by and
limited
see?
basis. If you call ahead and let us know, we'd be happy to show you what we're doing here.
Okay. And I'm sorry again, we sort of went to questions, but is there anything else you'd want to sum up before I just kind of quickly show how to put all this stuff into a land effects drawing?
Gotcha. I just would like to offer our sales team, which is we've got a sales team throughout the United States, that we would love to get together with any of you that might have more questions or some specific questions about a project that you're working on or something in the future. Just please don't hesitate to contact us, and we'll make every effort to get out on your schedule and provide you samples or information that you need to utilize these products. We appreciate your support. Thank you.
All right, very cool. Let me add something in. I'm going to add a head, first of all. Let's say a turf spray head, shrub spray would be identical. And you can see there's the HIT product line. And then you can go down and visit, just like on the website, you can visit the different types on there. This one, let's say if you wanted more info, you click more info, and of course you go to their website, or you just generally click on it and you see the options that pertain to turf spray heads, and I'm just going to pick one to add it. Just like all the others, they'll have a default radius on sprays, in this case 30 psi. You can do a radius reduction. Bill Curtis's thing last week, he says he always does a 90% radius reduction, so that's something to think about. And I've added it, and if I click Show Components here, I've added their range of nozzles, and so you can kind of see what they are. A 6-foot, well, actually a 4-foot adjustable, then a 6-foot adjustable, and then some fixed arcs in the 6. The same for the 8-foots. There's a 9x17 strip, a 10, a 12 series, a 15 series, and then a 17 variable arc on there. So it's pretty comparable to most other nozzle options. Those are your nozzle options. Of course, when you're ready to put them in, you click, I'm going to put in a turf spray of, let's say, a 15-foot, and I'll start full circle. There it is. Drop it in, or click Q, or E key, the keyboard commands to bring it up and down as you need to do to drop those in, and the other ones on there. Let's add a, they do make bubblers too, so I want to add a bubbler. There is the HIT products. It's a flood bubbler, a quarter, and a 2 GPM, and a spider model. Let me see the different models here. Adjustable flood, pressure compensating flood, and then a spider, all of them with 1/2-inch pipe thread inlet, and simply add it, give it a pressure that you want it to be designed for, and I'll say show components. The spider had a quarter, a strip, a half, and a full. on there. Fairly typical for little stream bubblers on that. I want to add their valves, so I'm going to go to Valves, click Add, and there's Remote Control Valve. I'll say OK. Here's HIT down here, and the series options that we looked at. I kind of want to add this 500 series. This one intrigues me on the pressure loss, and as you can see, you can either get a 1-inch with certain options, or a 1, a 1.5, and a 2, and up to with pressure regulated or reclaimed cap, that sort of thing. So I'll just add the full option and click Show Components, and I've added all 3 of those in there. And of course, when I go to place a valve into my project, there it is, and I place the appropriate one based upon the demand of where it's going on there. Other types of valves they have, I know they have a shutoff valve too. I just want to, we never looked at that, but I just kind of want to see it. There's HIT. Of course, shutoff valve is one term, isolation valve is another term. It's just a ball valve from 1/2 inch to 4-inch with slip available in pipe threaded or slip socket connections for that on there. Controllers, of course, is a big one. That would be auxiliary equipment, and going down to a controller, and of course hit on here, and you see the options. We didn't look at this battery operated one, but typically that's per valve. And is that correct, George? This is the battery operated one.
Single station, yes.
Oh, okay. And sometimes that's handy when you don't have any power. And then the one we looked at is sort of residential, although 4 to 6 stations, kind of depends. It looks tough enough to me to put on a small commercial too. The big boy 2-wire, or the 2-wire with up to 16 stations on here. But if I did add, let's say, let me look at this 2-wire, either 42 stations or 128 stations. Obviously, if I had 60 stations, I would be getting the 128. George, correct me if I'm wrong. That just simply means you got a lot of extra capacity. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And let's see, a stainless steel pedestal. That sounds cool. I'm going to add that. Would you like to add accessories now? And I'll have George help me a little bit. I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to go to accessories. And for that, I'm going to kind of look down to see. We have 2 kinds of decoders. We have the Pro 2 decoder, which actually I know isn't for this one, correct, George?
That's correct. We would want the LP.
It's this LP programmable, but I certainly want to add that to my project as an accessory, and I'm back to accessories again. I can either cancel this or go down and add some more accessories for this. Ooh, a radio remote control. I didn't know. I'm sorry. Sometimes I add these, and I'll put into the drawing, I'll edit the description and say to submit it with all the other submittals to the owner at the end of the maintenance period. But this one, correct me if I'm wrong, George, would simply hook up to the controller where you can be in the field with the handheld and go, gee, I need to turn on valve 12, and it turns it on, and you can watch it as you walk around on there. And that would be what that is, correct, George?
That's exactly right, yes.
Okay. And sometimes I'll add those in because I want the owner to have it, but I don't want the contractor to keep it. It's part of the job, and it's to be submitted to the owner, and it's of value, I feel, because of the size of the project to both the installation contractor and a value to the owner as he does his maintenance. Here's something for surge protection. You could certainly it says to be installed approximately every 300 to 500 feet along the wire path. I would say, well, let's add that in there, but I would also call HIT to say, in my situation, specifically where do I want surge protection? And I think they can give you an efficient answer rather than you over-guessing. But you do want to protect your investment from lightning, which maybe in California isn't a big deal. Evidently it is a big deal in some other places from what I hear. I'm a California boy, so we don't quite have that, but I've added some of those in there. And now, you know, if I were to place a controller itself, I would go to auxiliary equipment. There's my controller that I'm going to place, you know, wherever it might be. But let's pretend this little head here is a valve. I would do a, let's see, is this the decoder or not? Did I add that decoder in? I'm not sure if I added. I'm going to go back to controller accessories, and I might have for, oh yeah, the LP programmable receiver. That's what this is. So let me exit this, and I'll place that in. There's the receiver, and you just say what it is. I'm just going to call it D for decoder. You give it an initial, and you put one next to each valve as a decoder on there. So you would place the controller in, you would place your valves, and put a symbol for a decoder near each valve so it gets installed into the system. And for drip, I'm going to add a drip emitter on here and go to hit. And you can see there basically it looks like a half, a 1, and a 2 gallon per hour, different configurations, different reasoning for them. This bubbler is a much more stronger output, 6 outlets with 2.5, 6, 10, or 20 GPH. Correct me if I'm wrong, George, per outlet, 20 GPH.
That is correct.
That is a chunk of flow coming out of that thing, and that's why it's on a 1/2-inch pipe thread. And this is also, let's see, this one's also on a 1/2-inch pipe thread. 6 outlets, less flow per outlet. So the monster is a monster if you need a monster on there. So that's kind of intriguing. But like with many drip products, there's a variety of different types and different needs for them on there. And so you can add those in and you know, with those controller accessories being the decoder, the surge protection, maybe that remote control device, things like that you can add as accessories. And I kind of want to mention this accessories thing. When I go to auxiliary equipment, I can add a controller and I can add controller accessories. And you may have to visit controller accessories several times to make sure you get, you know, everything you're looking for. And I'm going to go back to hit on here, you know, and see what are the accessories, no matter what the manufacturer is, what are the accessories that they offer, and different manufacturers will offer different things depending on your needs. Heck, we even have one of them that offers a like a warranty or a support kit, a 2-year support charge. And we add it as an accessory and stick it on the plan with a little symbol. Maybe it's a square with a A for it, you say. But it gets into the bid because it gets into the schedule, and it's a warranty plan for that controller, whatever it might be. So accessories can be, as it sounds, the miscellaneous stuff that gets put onto controllers, because controllers are getting more and more and more complex in our world now. And it's good to have this accessories where you can add all the little gizmos and gadgets and populate with little symbols around the controller as you need to, and it shows up in the schedule and it gets into the bid for your project. Did we have any more questions, Katie?
No, we do not.
Okay.
Doesn't look like we do.
And George, did you have any comments or anything like that?
I think we did a good job and got in here under an hour.
That's right. So we have no more questions. That's the HIT product line. Certainly worth checking out if you're unfamiliar with it. And I just want to wish everybody a great weekend. Hope the weather's going to be fine wherever you are, and you'll have a good time. And thank you very much for coming. And that's our webinar. Thanks a lot. Thank you, George.
Thank you.